Welcome back, everybody. I got a whole bunch of stuff I want to show you. So we've got some updates in the Foda pack. It's going to be another silent update. Before I forget, hit that bell. Now, where were we? The tools in the workflow pack have become so big. This is now my main pack. And because Flux is the current model, most things are going to happen here. But some of these workflows are standalone and you don't need to use Flux, but they will still be in the pack. I used to make dedicated packs for them, but I feel like it's easier to organize this way. So the goal is to help you make better models. So I've put a lot of research. I've probably done about 150 training runs now. And as a result, I've learned quite a few things and we've tried a few different styles. We're going to switch up and do some more photographic stuff over the next few weeks, which is going to be fun. But let's just get into it. So first of all, DJZ nodes is updated. There's a whole bunch of new prompt lists to cover the new models which are going to be coming out. So always, the prompt lists for the models that I release will be in DJZ nodes. So if you keep this up to date, my prompt generator will just feed the triggers if that's what you want to do. Also, in the workflows pack, that's up to date. So we're looking at the Foda Flux section. You can clone the whole thing straight into Comfy now. So we're going to be looking at the Captioning Tools folder. And these are the workflows which we're going to be looking at today. So starting where we're going to start is Florence 2 Caption. We're going to take a look at that. There's also Flux Enhanced Data. There's also Florence WD. This is just the next version. So this is the most basic version. This is where it went after that. This is the standalone version of how it ends, which is technically the V3, as we see here. There was a V2, which is similar to this, for that, but I just included the final version, right? So essentially what you've got is, you've got Florence 2 Caption, Florence 2 Caption with WD15 tagger and exclude and the batch workflow. And then that was developed into the enhanced data V3 lines. The idea is we're taking a data set and we're going to redo all the captions and then either don't touch the images in the case of this one, or we're going to run them through Flux with a prompt, a little bit of denoise, Anyway, so it's like a remix, right? And obviously if you bump it up, you could actually make a whole new data set because it's going to re-caption at the end. Anyway, we'll show you. Something else which is added to the data set. This is already actually in the data set. This is how I test all my models. I put my intermediates in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. And then it's going to put them all into a grid, which puts them into a grid. And then what I do is I just leave it on instant. I go and get my breakfast, come back, and then I'll have a whole bunch of grids, which I post up on the Discord. So if we take a look at the Discord, you can see all the models that I've been training. These are the ones that are finished. So these are like the full runs and all the intermediates are in here. And essentially what happens is you get something like this. You get, can I get the whole thing now? There we go. So we start off with what it is, what's going on, what the goal is, what the difference is, and then we go down. Like, for example, Black Sun V0 is trained with 30 images from an old SDXL dataset, recaptioned with the workflow I'm going to show you for T5 and Clip L. We used this to remix the images and recaption the final outputs to create a new dataset to train with Flux, right? So we used Florence 2 and Swin 2 Tagger V3. Full config, so that's 20 repeats, 10 epochs, cosine prodigy, rank 8, alpha 16. And these are the previews, the 512 previews. So as they come out, I post them up in here for people to see. And then once we get to the end, we start doing the actual evaluation run. So if I take a look at this one here, as you can see, these are the final epochs. And I believe I picked epoch 9. Right. Yeah, I picked epoch 9. So you can see these are all the grids where the final, the final comparisons for all the images. And generally speaking, overall, I thought E9 was the best trade-off for this particular Lora. And so, like I said, from that point, that's all done with this. So with the case of Not the True World, there's many, many versions. So there's a thread here called Not the True World Comparison. where what we're doing is we're actually comparing. Look at my internet connection. We're getting a new office next week, guys. Ethernet, fiber optics. I can't wait. Anyway, so basically, if you see here, what we've got is this is the difference between the versions. So version 1 was trained with a light profile. It's all explained on the actual thing. I don't want to bore you with saying everything again and again. But essentially, this is comparing now. Well, okay, cool. We've done all these different things. So what's actually the result of that? All right. So then we can compare and see actually, well, which one is more like what we were going for. In the end, I like the V4 because you can dial it back if you want to get something less. Yeah. Anyway, so like I said, we compare all of these, and the way we compare them is with the new workflow, which is in the training section. So I just wanted to show you that one. I kept hinting at it in previous videos. Oh, we'll get to this. We'll get to this. So we've got to this. So obviously, when we're testing them, we're not just going to test with the captions. We're going to test with all different types of prompts, but not with anything that's specifically triggering the model. Because what I'm testing here is its ability to do detail enhancement. All right. So I won't go into the actual details. You can look up the workflow if you want. But the idea is that the first one is not loading any LoRa. Okay. This is not connected. It's bypassed and disconnected just to make sure. Sometimes I found even when you bypass, it'll still somehow affect the clip. So I unhook it now when I want it to not do it. So that's what it would have made had there been nothing loaded. So if I then take a look at the version 1 light, this is what the version 1 light is creating with this particular combination. And I know already which style that is. It's Hyperfuture from Not the True World. Okay, lots of cool sort of optical illusion type convolution in the architecture. And the thing is, you can see already that this is quite sharp. This is quite blurry, almost like a soft focus. And then this one is like a sort of trade-off, which is why I ended up, this one almost looks like a photo that was taken with a bit of blur, fast motion. So they have strengths and weaknesses, right? And this is one of the reasons I created that, so that you can take a look at what is actually the difference and then decide. So that's what this is for. When you are finally finished, you got a bunch of candidates which you are good, and you've been making changes to how you've been training it. So for example, the difference is noted here. It's the same model in 2.16, in 4.16, and in 8.16. So all we're doing is the exact same thing, exact same data set, same captions, everything's the same. We've just increased one thing, the rank. Because what I keep telling everybody is it's like one thing, change one thing, train again. And then that's how we find the best. That's why we call it fine tuning, because you got all these knobs and you got to try and fine tune them all to be exactly the right value. And no one really knows what the best value is. Depends what you're doing. So different styles take different best settings. Right. So that covers Flux Lora Stack Tester. So now, at the risk of making the video too long, we're going to dive into this as well. So this is the main point of the video. We were just sort of doing catch up really up until now. So I had the idea, like I say, of taking old data sets, be they 512x, and then doing some process with them, or just recaptioning them. Because I had a lot of data sets which were, as I was making the prompt lists, I was realizing that the captions aren't very good. Some of them were made with Blip 2 a year ago, maybe more. And so I thought, wouldn't it be cool? Because we remix the images all the time. So I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we could remix the captions using Vision to give the best description that the model would understand, and then try to put it into the best formatting as well. So that was the goal, right? And we'd looked at Florence in the past. So, if you follow the channel, you would have already had Florence for the in-painting feature that we use, right? So I thought, well, it's got a caption feature. You can say more detailed captions on Florence, right? And we've already got base. So I thought, well, this is free, isn't it? So there's our image, and it gives us a painting of a man and a woman. The man has a long beard. The woman is wearing a gold helmet with a pink scarf around her neck. It's not bad. Only problem is it did absolutely nothing. It didn't go Renaissance style oil painting. It's there's no angel. Okay. So it's missing a lot, and that is the best you can get. We could increase the beams, but really that's not good enough. So I thought, okay, well, how about we use this as a light T5 style, because it is a sentence, it's a spoken form. It's not very good, but it's there. Maybe we combine it with a clip L, so some Oru style tagging, right? And that's what takes us on to the next workflow in today's pack, which I will load up now. Now, this one's a little bit more complicated, but don't worry. The main point is that we're using a load image batch. So we put the path for our images in there, and then we have an index and an incremental image. It's just going to go through them. What I like to do is turn the widget into for the index, and then just drag it off and say primitive, right? And then this is going to be our index, and then we can choose whether we want it to be fixed, increment, decrement, randomize. It's up to us now, right? So I know how many images are in my folder. I know there are 150 images in this data set, okay? So it's going to ignore the text files because we don't care about those. We're going to be making new ones, right? And so what we're going to do is if we put it on increment, every time we make a queue, it's going to go through image, 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 image. That's what we want. Like a conveyor belt. We don't want to be batching all those images at once. Just do one at a time. It's fine. So what's going on here? We've got an exclusion list, okay? Because the WD tagger had an exclude tags input. So by feeding the Florence caption, which is this one, okay, this is an animated image. I don't know what it was scanning there. Whatever's in Black Sun. So by taking these these tokens, putting them in, that means whatever WD14 tagger sees, it can't repeat anything that was in this. Is the goal, right? And so then in addition to that, I've concatenated a bunch of stuff which I didn't want in there. So just basically borrowed tags that I didn't feel I wanted to be put into what we're doing here, right? Because we don't really need borrowed tagging. Anyway, so what that's essentially done is blah blah blah, merged the Florence and the WD14 tags, and then we get something like this, which is pretty good, actually. All right. Now, it's not amazing, all right, but it's a good start. And this is the beginnings. Now, what else is going on here? Well, we're saving the image and we're using the file name. So when we save the image, it will have the same file name. That's important because we want to be able to match the text file as well. So when we save the text file and the image file, they'll both have the same name. Only problem is, there's going to be an extra number added on by Comfy to images. Now, in the case of where we are just getting tags, so you have a data set and you just want to make new captions, the images are only there as like a reference so that you can be 100% sure that that caption went with that image. But to be honest, all you need to do is copy the captions into a duplicate of your data set. You see, because it'll match. The text files will match perfectly. It's only the image that gets that extra file suffix, right? But anyway, I wrote a little script to get around it. I bet there's like a checkbox somewhere in Comfy to just turn it off. But anyway, I've got a way I can show you how to do that. So this is the demo for what this actually, this is like basically a functional thing, but I made it better. So let's move on. Right. This is Recaption Enhance. Now, I think it is actually called Caption Tools Enhance in the file name. But this is just doing captioning of images. So it's the same setup as before, it just looks a bit more streamlined, all right? We've got our image index, as I explained, it's on single image mode. So every time you queue, it's going to do one image. And the idea is you would queue it for the number of images in the folder, okay? The folder is actually up here. So you put your folder path in there along with your project name. Okay, that's important because it's going to make sure that the new data set you're making is organized and in one place for you to just go and grab. You don't want to be like pulling files out of a soup. Okay. Um, the WD14 tagger is still here, so we can get those last clip L's at the end, right? But we're actually going to be using uform gen 2 Quen node. All right. Now you should be able to just automatically download this by using VLM nodes with missing nodes, and then when you run it the first time, it'll download the files. I think it's about 5 GB, but I'll try to put a manual install up on the uh, on the main folder pack at the very bottom with all the other stuff, because I had to get the model separately because my Hugging Face crashed or something. I don't know. But essentially, what happens is if Hugging Face hangs, there's a folder called .cache for the Hugging Face cache in the actual node folder where it's trying to download the stuff. And if you put the files in manually and delete that, it'll re-scan it and it'll go through. But if you don't, it just gets stuck on the cache forever. That's what I found out anyway. I don't know if that's normal or whatever, but it seemed to work for me. So anyway, this is the prompt because it is actually an LLM. So we are actually prompting it. It is very lightweight though. I think this might have actually been smaller than 5 GB, come to think of it. I did try like 5 of them, and some of them were too big. Some of them were just impractical. Some of them had an install that would like break your Python, and then that was fun. So I've had to like reinstall my stuff. But these are the sacrifices we make, guys. So this one's safe, all right? And essentially what happens is you give it a nice prompt. I've tried to be quite basic with this prompt, to try and get me something that's going to be similar to a T5. All right. And then obviously we do our tagger with the exclusion, which gives us our blacklist, token blacklist feature. We also have something I call the root trigger. Now that would be your XVX woman or something like that. Now I've made it that it's the first image, the first thing, but obviously sometimes you might be doing a generic person in generic place wearing outfit, which is XVX outfit. So at that point you would put it at the end and it would be like XVX outfit or something like that, right? So I'm going to do long videos on this on the members side soon. So we're going to look at a full project, go from start to finish, take the images, look at everything in depth. It's going to take a while, but it will be really valuable for everybody. So anyway, taking a look at what the actual result is, it says Black Sun style, which obviously is my trigger, right? A solitary figure stands in the foreground, illuminated by a bright light amidst a futuristic landscape. The backdrop is a dark, ominous castle-like structure with glowing lights and a central glowing sphere. The sky is filled with lightning bolts and other dark elements, creating a sense of mystery and intrigue. And that is where our LLM output ends. And then here is the clip interrogator type output. So solo standing outdoors, sky cloud from behind, glowing cloudy sky, scenery, science fiction, city silhouette. Now, with any luck, you don't get there's always a chance. See, I think that really what we should do now is we should be sending this into a second LLM to make sure there's no repetition. Maybe break it into multi-line because there is a number of characters and you can so we could have had a multi-line here, for example, after glowing sphere. And that would actually help because I can't remember what the number is now, but there's a number of tokens per line. And like I said, Flux allows multi-line. So you can have longer prompts by simply breaking them up. And it's easy to tell an LLM, oh, every so many words, put a line break in. But like I said, that would take another LLM. And I didn't want to waste loads of time trying to find another LLM. I went through 4 of them just to get this far. So, hey, suggestions in Discord. We've got a bit of a headhunt on. We got to find the best LLM to make the best prompts ever. Okay. Right. It's going to be lava. I'm sure it's going to be lava. It's just getting the damn thing to work. Okay. So this is here showing us what the file path name is going to be. So I wanted to show people what was actually going on here. It's quite complicated. Best thing is just don't touch the damn thing. But essentially what's happening is we're saving the text file and the image file with the same path and file name. Again, as you can see here, the image path, there's no .png. And that is because Comfy is going to put a number on there because it's thinking that we're going to make lots of the same thing, and it's a built-in feature. There may be a way to disable it. I've never needed to, and I've got a script for you guys which will solve the problem anyway. So it's not a big deal, because the thing is, the way this is set up, it's going to do new image, new image, new image, new image. You're never going to do the same image twice, and you're never going to do the same image. Sorry, yeah, you're never going to do the same image twice, essentially, right? So it's always going to be _00001 underscore .png. So I just wrote a script to scan for any image that has a text file that matches if it didn't have that number, and then remove the number. It's a pretty simple script. The Python's in the, let's see, where is it? Here it is, rename images.py. You just, so when you're done generating your, oh wait, we're getting ahead of ourselves here because this one doesn't make images, really. But you will see the behavior because it's going to make a copy of the data set. We're not changing them though. So they're kind of irrelevant. You see what I mean? You can take these captions and put them in a duplicate of the data set. You don't need to use this image. So it's quicker to do it that way. You know, duplicate the old data set, delete the captions, copy the captions from the new data set in, and it's done. It'll all match because the text files will match perfectly whatever the donor file was. Whereas the image, this is like a reference, really, as I said before. So this is your simple caption remastering thing, all right? And it works in a batch. So again, you just put your data set in there, and I just put it on instant and just let it run. I mean, you might want to put a number in there. So there's 150. So just put 150 and let it go. It will take a while because it is going to do the vision on every image. So it's not going to be like so fast that you can't stop it or anything. And it won't blow up. It's just, you know, because it does one at a time. It's pretty safe. All right, that's Recaption Enhanced. So this is your non-destructive caption remastering workflow. Now we're going to get into the remix stuff, which I think is pretty cool, especially if you have tiny data sets from 1.5. So let's get into that. Right. Do not be afraid. It only looks a bit weird because I put the thing on top this time. So basically, this is Recaption Enhancer. I think I just put the wrong title on there. This is actually Foda Flux Enhanced Data Lines version 38. Now we've got the same setup as the last one. So you put your project name in, and then you have the path to your data set. So let's see, I'll just put 12 here, right? For example, I'm on a new project, right? Got my data set in there, done my token exclusion. I'll set my index to 0. It's on increment. It's on single image. Everything looks good. All right. It's using the uform Gen 2 to do the prompt, same prompt as last time. All right. And then that's going to look at the image. It's going to do the WD tagger as well. So we get those nice tags at the end. Okay. And that's essentially going to give you this nice caption here. You can ignore that. That's from the old workflow. And then we've got an image size adjuster. So we can make sure that the images that you're bringing in are of a safe aspect ratio. When they get trained, they'll slice up and everything much easier that way. So it's going to find the best aspect ratio divisible by 64 and make sure it's SDXL. I've got it set to crop because I know that most of my images are going to be safe anyway. All right. But obviously, you could use, well, to be honest, key proportion might not be a good idea. Stretch is generally a bad idea. I think crop is pretty much your best option because it should automatically find the best size. There may be some cropping, but it's going to be minimal. I would expect you already have good aspect ratio sizes in your data sets. They're probably all square or a couple of wides, couple of talls. Generally how we used to break it up. Anyway, you have your flux loaders down the bottom. You have your random noise. You have the aspect size. That's only really for text to image, though. and we're not going to be using that right now, which is why this is driving the model sampling flux. Something to note, on a lot of my workflows, we're using model sampling flux and it's being driven by something. Often I leave it default on text to image because often people use text to image more. But if you use a lot of image to image, sometimes you can get a little bit nicer images just by making sure that the image to image dimensions, which is why I use adjusted width, just to make sure we get those really nice, sweet dimension sizes. Poke that into your boost of 1.5 there. And let's see, we've got a denoise of 0.1 because we're obviously using image to image. I've got my Lora turned off and disconnected because, again, I don't want clip infection. It might just be all in my head. But I swear it's real. I swear clip infection is real. So I unhook it now. I don't just mute it. All right. And this is going to send one image somewhere and the rest somewhere else. So we've got all of this preset stuff going on. There's going to be a comparison down here. So we've got original and remixed. So it's going to give you a side-by-side image and save it. So, you're not going to be like, oh, I don't know what it did. You can literally just leave this running. So what's it actually doing? Okay. It's going to be taking each image from your data set. It's going to make a new caption for the image, and then it's going to use that to drive the image to image. So we're not just doing like empty prompt. We're actually doing the new caption with the old image, denoised and boosted through Flux, however you choose. So obviously there's a wide spectrum of application for this. You could be making completely new data sets. You don't have to make them exactly like they were. It's depending on how much you want them to be what they are originally, right? And then at the end, it's going to do the same thing again. It's going to do a whole new caption pass, and then it's going to save the files like the other one did, all right? So essentially, it's like a conveyor belt, data set in, data set out. And obviously, if you have the problem with the extra numbers, you just use that rename. You drop the script into the dataset folder, run it, Python image resize.py, and it will just strip. It'll make sure that any image that has a matching pair, it strips that underscore 00001 underscore. Strip that off, and like I say, the proof's in the pudding, really, because this new model which I'm training here, V0, was trained with Florence captions. V1, which I'm training right now, is trained with the new. I forget what the name of this thing is. It's not got a very catchy name, let's be honest. What's it called? Uform Gen 2 Quen. You see what I mean? It's like strange. Uform. I'm going to say Uform. So we're using the Uform to get these tags, and they're much nicer. And I know we can make them better because there are other models like this, other lava models usually, and they're producing really nice tags. So there'll be more versions of this, but that's what it's doing. And obviously, it's up to you how much you change the images. I've got a whole bunch of before and afters, which I'll probably throw up on the screen while we're talking about this. So hopefully they should have been on. There should be something. All right. But that's the purpose of this workflow. And just to obviously point out, if you send a 512 dataset into this, it's going to do everything it can to just make it SDXL size for you. Okay. It's just going to do everything it can. Okay. So it's like I wouldn't say one shot, but if you find a good seed, because I do fix the seed because the model can jump around sometimes. And also, you might want to inject Lora into your new data set as well. That's always an option. You don't have to disable it like I have. I did actually have a version which used ControlNet and things like that to make it even more, creative and powerful. But you do start to hit memory problems, even on a 4090 with 64 gigs of RAM. And then the generation times just become, it's funny. It goes from like 4 seconds to 2 minutes to 20 minutes. And you're like, whoa, what happened? And it's because it's like desperately trying to cut everything up into bits and offload it and all this business. So I would just keep it simple. It works fine like this. Less denoise for more like the original, more denoise for more creative based on the model setup that you have running. Obviously, if you boost the shift, it's going to follow the prompt more. Okay, but the exercise isn't to, well, it might be to make a completely new data set from an old one, and that's up to you. But I find that what most people want is they want it to look pretty much exactly the same, just better, right? It's a really hard thing to say, that is. It really is. But I'll be honest, that is what it does, because it's doing denoising and bringing the resolution up. If you have a 1.5 data set, that is. I'm going to be looking at all my 768 data sets for the same purpose. Anyway, so that is that workflow. And I think that's everything in this particular update. There's always more to talk about, and there's going to be so many more models coming out soon. I hope you're all enjoying it. All of these models were designed as experiments to test particular setups, and if you look on the model pages, you'll be able to learn more. Obviously, there's way more information in the Discord if you want to check that out. We've got all of our experiments all here and noted. Everyone's sharing images as well now. I love seeing everybody's work in there, so, you know, it's cool to come and share your stuff. So that is everything I got for you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. So, memberships are here. I've added donator and member. The donator membership is just you want to support the channel, help us grow. Member, you're going to get some exclusive video access. And check out the join now button for more information.